In the world, how Chinese government, the communist government, is taking full advantage of what's happening in the world, selling literally billions of dollars. But today I put some stuff together, some points that, I just need your patience with me. I don't think the story started last year. I don't think this is when it started. I believe this has been a long-term plan that started mainly in 2014, 2015. And for us to connect some dots, we have to look at what is happening in Italy. Why Italy? Why Italy with all these data? Okay. And one of my friends, he shared a very interesting letter with me from one of the writers over there who was born actually in Pennsylvania. And he's telling you since 2014, if you remember after the world financial crisis, we called them the pigs. Portugal, Italy, Spain, okay, and Greece, that they have a lot of financial problems. In 2014, the Chinese investment started pouring into Lombardy, where the virus started, okay, in hundreds of billions of dollars. They start buying ports in Italy. They started this under a very nice name, the Silk Way, from the east to the west. And the Silk Way was not just about selling merchandise from the east to the west. The Silk Way was about actually the East controlling the West, and they took Italy as their gateway to the West, okay? And they started buying a lot of big stakes in the banks. Actually, the Bank of China, the Chinese bank of the people in China, owns the majority stakes in the 5 largest banks in Italy today, okay? Nobody knows that. Nobody knows that in Italy, that they control literally 30% of the public companies in Italy, okay? They bought the stocks, they bought these people, and they were pouring them in the thousands. At the same time, Italy was under fascist regime, socialist regime that kept changing one government after another, okay? And people was getting paid by staying home, okay? In Italy, you get paid even if you don't work, whether it's unemployment or not, but you get paid. And no one understands why the banks were failing but not failing, why retirement accounts were draining but not draining. And that Italian writer, he started digging into and found that all this money was coming actually from China, billions of dollars, okay? You know what else I found very interesting, okay, about what's happening in Italy? From 2010, okay, now, okay, is you can see the numbers, and I'm gonna share all the links, okay? So from 2010 to 2017, Italy started in 2000 with 1,321 hospitals. By 2017, they only had 1,063 hospitals. They almost dropped 300 hospitals because of socialism. So when you see all the news about what's happening in Italy, this is not because of what's happening today. This is because of what has been going on in Italy since 2014. Socialism with communism. The people of Italy right now are paying the price. 300 hospitals less beds, almost 30% less hospitals on a population that didn't go down 30%. Now you understand why Italy have so many thousand deaths, and why when you hear the stories and the media say, and the doctors in Italy have to choose, well, they have to choose because their government took away the hospitals from them. The government took away the beds from their patients. Now let's get to the US. This is the Pearl Harbor of US. Go back to World War II, the war between US and Japan. US was out of the war. Japanese were occupying China. The US was against it. Japanese started pushing more into Asia. The US made an embargo on the oil, which they used to buy from the US back then. Japan decided that they're gonna attack Pearl Harbor, okay? And they're gonna occupy Thailand the same day. So they attacked Pearl Harbor, but it took them 2 years to get there. And please be patient with me, because at the end of this video, I'm gonna break news to you that is fresh today, okay? That just sealed the deal. So the Chinese, again, I want you to Google all of this. The Chinese, they went, okay? And they start investing in some cities in the United States very heavily. Guess which cities? New York, California, Washington State, and Florida, Miami. Do you hear these 4? New York, California, LA and San Francisco, Washington State, and Miami. Washington State were the first coronavirus case was discovered in the US, was in Washington State, and he had just came back from China. Okay, quick, for those who say Trump didn't do much, Trump actually on February 5th announced stop all the travel between the US and China. And Chuck Schumer, okay, tweeted on February 5th, the premature travel ban to and from China by the current administration is just an excuse to further his ongoing war against immigrants. There must be a check and balance on these restrictions. So when President Trump was trying to stop the travel between China and the US, the Democratic leadership was thinking this is for immigration. Same leadership is attacking him today, by the way. Same idea when Governor Cuomo, when Trump said 2 days ago he will force a quarantine in New York and Connecticut and Jersey, he said this will be a war in his state. Governor Cuomo said if President Trump announced quarantine, this will be a war and it's illegal against New York State. But the same people are complaining that he didn't do much. Okay, fast forward. Okay, Chinese investments all-time high. Okay, $26 billion. If you remember the Waldorf Astoria in New York, $1.95 billion, one building, this was the trophy, okay? More than $50 billion in the state of California, the Silicon Valley, right? More than $21 billion. They were the number one real estate investor in Washington State, Seattle is. And guess what? They were half of the real estate investors in Miami, Florida. By the way, if you look at Florida, Miami is the hot spot for the coronavirus, which is little weird. I live in Orlando, Florida. You know how many people came last year to Disney? 75 million people. We had 75 million people. Okay, the first 3 months this year, 20 million people. We only have 500 cases of coronavirus in the whole county, not even Orlando. I'm talking about the whole county. We have people from all over the world. We only have 500. But then you go to Miami, New York, and California, and Seattle, and Washington State, and there's thousands. You know what else is very weird? That the Chinese government pulled all their investment June of 2019, as if they were getting ready for something that we don't know. At that time, they said the excuse were that, you know, they need the money to go back. They actually put the people who are making the investment in jail, and they said they need the money to be back in China. I don't think the second largest economy in the world needed like about $50 billion to survive. China is much bigger than that. So investments in, investments out, 2 years of preparation. Italy was the gate to the West. And then France, if you look at the numbers, France is the next socialist country, okay? And then come here to the States and start buying professors left and right, like the guy in Harvard that the media doesn't talk about him, that the FBI made a big deal of it a month ago, but the media never said that the head of the biochemical department in Harvard was working for the Chinese government, getting paid $50,000 to $100,000 a month. Everything I'm telling you, please go Google it and read it on Yahoo. Okay, or read it on Forbes, or read it on Washington. At the time when the US government was fighting ISIS, at the time when the US government was fighting against Iran and fighting in Afghanistan, and we're fighting the war, the Chinese government was saving their money, saving their life, and they were buying ports around the world. And what's happening right now, they left us no choice. Think about it. Where else can we go to get our medical supplies? Well, the next one will be India, right, as far as pricing. Well, India, the second largest nation in the world, was 1.3 billion people, is in total lockdown. So they shut down India. India have like 1,500 cases. They shut down India. They shut down Vietnam. They shut down Thailand. They shut down the whole world just for them to sell more. I'll put you pictures today for the Chinese president walking in the factories where they are making the ventilators, okay? And he's just wearing a mask. That's not a guy who is worried about getting infected. Not like the Prime Minister of England or Prince Charles or the wife of Prime Minister of Canada. And more people will be found. Or the 37 employees in the Pentagon. No one in the Chinese government was ever announced that he tested positive. It's only normal people, poor people. This have been the Chinese plot from day one, and I don't know how no one in the world, so they have been planning for this over and over while everyone was sleeping. Everyone was fighting about Democrat, Republican, about Trump or Brexit, and England is going out while the Chinese were buying little pieces of the wallet, one piece after another. You know what else you should check out? That the Chinese, France have just signed $550 million medical supplies. Italy have just signed $2.5 billion in medical supplies. And Spain another $2 billion. I'm just giving you 3 examples. Think about 151 countries, including the US. We have to play nice with the Chinese government because we need the medical supplies right now. But you know what you can't even find easy on the net? 80% from the test kits that Spain received from the Chinese government are bad. So not just they are using the crisis to make money, they are selling bad shit to the people who are suffering the most. The world is in lockdown. The Chinese Communist Party is making billions of dollars. And then someone come and say, oh, you're supporting the right wing. Oh no, you are from the left wing. Well, let me tell you something. Right now, nobody have wings. The only thing I see have wings is the coronavirus. This is the only thing have a wing that's flying from one place to another, except in China. And I bet you my life, you're gonna hear some news in the next 4 or 5 days, because now the hate on China is really coming from all over the world. Now the people are waking up. You know, now the people are realizing who's making money is the Chinese government. And don't tell me science. Because when the scientist spoke and he tried to warn the people, they killed him, and our media didn't give a shit. Our media didn't care, the lefties didn't care, the Democratic Party didn't care. All what they are caring, living with is hate Trump, hate Trump, hate Trump. Well, guess what? I voted for Obama. Obama had 8 years to prepare for a day like that. He didn't do it, even though he went through the H1N1. He didn't prepare us for a day like that. Go Google it. The CDC budget was cut in 2014. The mask, our inventory of masks were depleted in 2009, 2010, and never were filled again with masks. What we're paying today is a failure of another administration that had 8 years. You know, I listened to Biden himself the other day in CNN, and they're asking him, what would you have done? And he said, well, this likely was unlikely to happen. What the hell are you talking about, man? What are you talking about? I voted for you guys. I voted for you. And you give us up, okay? You let the Chinese, you and Bush the son and Clinton and the Bush the father, you all work together to sell us to the Chinese, to sell the American people to the Chinese. And when Trump, the only guy who, by the way, understand their language, he's greedy, okay? He's a business guy. He know how to make money from them. They found that they are playing with a different animal here. This is not your typical politician. And that's why all eyes on him. Look at the oil. Russia, by the way, have now about 1,000 cases, 1,500 cases. When I met 2 weeks ago, there was 1 case. Now it's 1,000, 1,500, and people are like, whoa, look what's happening in Russia. They are half our population. We have 140,000 cases. Oil. Oil today is below $20. You will see in the next few days how many American oil companies will go bankrupt. You will see it. US right now is the largest oil producer in the world. And by 2025, we're supposed to be the largest oil exporter. Now a lot of American companies are going out of business. Also, guess who's the second largest consumer of oil in the world? China. China is getting oil for $20 on sale. Boom, the economy. I am tired and sick of hearing left or right or social or unsocial talking about Trump was late, Trump was early. Talk about the damn problem it's caused and the consequences. If we as a world,
to use this feature, please make sure your app is running and can access the internet.
This is not just like the US, okay? This is worldwide. This is worldwide, okay? If the world doesn't come together, the Chinese are taking over. The Chinese and the Russians and Italy. Remember the axis of evil in World War II? You're gonna have another axis of evil coming in, okay? And put Iran in the middle, and let's get in a war, okay, and let's start firing some missiles, and the Chinese will be the one who's taking over. If we don't move as a wallet right now, if we don't make China pay the Chinese government, and please listen to this, be protective to the Chinese people in your country, in Australia, in England, in Italy, in the US, be protective. These people left their mother country for a reason. They ran away from the same communist party we're standing against today. Be nice to them. I'm Muslim. I know the feeling when your whole race or religion being attacked for the doing of some few crazy piece of shit people. Be protective. Buy from them. They need us now more than ever. Be nice and friendly and loving to the Chinese people in your community. But stand firm against the Chinese government. They have to pay. The only way they can show us that they understand what's going on, that they are on our side, if they come tomorrow and say all the medical supplies are free for the world. And by the way, just what I told you about Spain, that might go back too. 80% of Spain went back. 80% of the testing kits from Spain went back. But we have some good news, because the American people are the most innovative people in the world. We just have a testing kit came out today that from Abbott Laboratories, only 15 minutes.
To use this feature, please make sure your app is running and can access the internet.
More people will come, more access will come, okay, more cases will come out simply because we're testing more people. But hang in there and be positive. And I'm gonna leave you, this is the news, and it's in Yahoo, that suspected SARS virus and flu samples found in luggage. FBI report describes China biosecurity risk. In late November 2018, just over a year before the first coronavirus case was identified in Wuhan, China, U.S. Customs and Border Protection agents at Detroit stopped a Chinese biologist with 3 vials labeled antibodies in his luggage. An inspection of the writing on the vials and the stated recipient led inspection personnel to believe the materials contained within the vials may be viable Middle East respiratory syndrome, MERS, and severe acute respiratory syndrome, SARS. You remember SARS? Remember SARS, right? That virus? The report, written by the Chemical and Biological Intelligence Unit of the FBI's Weapons of Mass Destruction Directorate, WMDD, does not give the name of the Chinese scientist carrying the suspect SARS and MERS samples or the intended recipient, but the FBI concluded that the incident and 2 other cases cited. The Weapons of Mass Destruction Directorate assesses foreign scientific researchers who transport undeclared and undocumented biological materials into the United States in their personal carry-on or checked luggage almost certainly present a U.S. biosecurity risk. This didn't start today. This started in December 2018. They have been planning. This is the Pearl Harbor of 2020. God bless all humans around the world. God bless America. Stay safe. Stay home so we can beat this. And one last piece of good news. I had to go to Walmart to pick some stuff. I wear my mask, I got my gloves. They had a lot of toilet papers, but they're running out of bicycles because people are going back to walk and exercise. In the darkest moments, there will always be light. So be safe.